with regards to your psoas training, your training that you've developed, what's different about it? I mean, what are we talking about really?
The starting point is to, first of all, have an understanding of the basic anatomy of it.
Okay.
And then the intention is to make that a kinesthetic experience.
Okay.
So we have a sequence on the floor where you can explore basic pelvic motion, just like what we have with the spinal motion in gyrokinesis.
Are you talking about flexion, extension, maybe?
Rotation, all of it, that's any possibility that we have.
Okay, so you're having a more organic experience.
You try to see and feel, first of all, joint mobility, but then eventually the layer comes in where you want to experience an action of the iliacus muscle,
okay,
which is part of the iliopsoas complex.
Okay.
And also the psoas major. You want to feel them working in a very gentle way, participating in these movements. And by doing that, you just awaken the muscles. And you slowly build on this awareness. And so through that warm-up, you get out off the floor in a very, very different state, and then you can bring this to the machines with the same awareness, through some of the very basic exercises that we all know from level 1, and then some very specific psoas-oriented variations or new exercises.
Well, there's two things I'm hearing is your warm-up, really what you're talking about is neurological awakening of sensitivity to what it does and getting yourself actually be able to perceive it. Because as we do with movement education, if you can't perceive what it is, it's very difficult to kind of put it in action. And especially in the everyday. I always talk about how this work is not supposed to stay in the classroom. If it kind of stays in the classroom, it doesn't really have much benefit to us. As you were saying, you were sitting there and you're like, okay, I can feel it, I'm accessing it. And the squeezing is something that I want to talk about a little bit, because it seems as if, we're in a culture of squeezers, really.
Pushers, maybe, yeah.
They can squeeze it, they can push it, but the nuance of motion and the other functions are obscured by these massive efforts. And I think what you're talking about is a nuance, actually getting in touch with yourself, perceiving something deep, and then being able to put that into action. That is very valuable, because now you're going to translate it, as you said, to more specific exercises, but with the awareness, that deeper awareness trailing along, and hopefully that's going to carry on to when you leave the studio as well. Because otherwise, it's not going to really solve any problems that we're having.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a combination of sensory awareness, and in order to build on that, you need introspection.
Yes, I like that word.
That is not very popular in our culture because it's always about being productive.
Yes.
And somewhat aggressive so that you can be productive. So in order to get in touch with the psoas, you kind of have to do the opposite. You have to turn inside and turn that off so your nervous system calms down. So doing this workshop for 3 days and having like an hour and a half on the floor, it's a huge luxury and everybody loves it, but it's really hard to do it by yourself and convince yourself, okay, here's my time, I'm going on the floor by myself.
I understand what you mean.
So, but it creates like a whole different in your nervous system, it creates a balance, but it's almost like there's this huge energetic wave that comes up through you. But quite honestly, if you don't cultivate that, meaning if you don't do this on a regular basis, it will always shrivel away. If you go back to it, it responds more quickly. But it is a practice. It is a practice.
Cultivation.
So, yes. So it's a different state of being. So people have to seek it out, and I think Gyrotonic is already, it's already hinting in that direction. So we already have an audience who's more open to that.
Right.
But I do think it's for the general population, it's a really important message in there. And what I hear from instructors is that, yes, it's difficult to have that whole process of 3 days to recreate that in a session of 60 minutes, but little bits and pieces like being on the floor and just exploring these basic movements has a huge impact, and especially on like elderly, the older population.
Well, a little bit.
They love this,
Of course they would. A little bit of the right thing is very powerful. This is the whole, thing that we're living in, is that people think that more is really more, when in effect, if you're doing more of the wrong thing, you're actually not getting more, you're getting less. You're physically destroying yourself, and moreover, you're setting yourself up for failure down the line. That's why I love teaching older people, and I love teaching kids, because they don't have this expectation. First of all, older people generally, their perspective is totally different, right? They want to be able to continue to do.
That's right.
Right? And they want to feel good. Their thing is, I don't want to hurt, I want to feel good, and I want to function. And so they're much more willing to listen to something, and they have more patience for the most part for those kinds of things, because they've seen, nothing comes like that in life. You have to build it.
Humble, right? Yes.
And they also tend to, and we're talking generally, but I see a whole level of gratitude that is exponential, because of the, what you are doing for them is essentially you're giving them more years of life. You're giving them more ability to go and do things that in some cases they've been told they cannot do again. So tell me something about the problems that you see pathologically in terms of the psoas not functioning properly. Like, why, out of all the muscles in the body, you obviously see this as an important issue to single it out. What is it that you feel is so important about getting to know your psoas?
That's a book, That's a big question. I think it gives you a sense of calm and peacefulness if you're in touch with it, and resting inside yourself, trusting and knowing that there is support in relationship to gravity, so you don't have to fight. Breathing, getting in touch with your diaphragm, the movements of the pelvis, it's all very gentle. And it gives you this feedback. The body comes back to you, very powerful. There's so much strength without pumping muscles.
Well, what if you don't have this connection? What problems would you foresee in people that they don't have a connection? If they have the psoas muscles not strong enough or not intelligent enough? Because what you're talking about is body intelligence. So I'm not even going to, downplay it by saying strength, because the things that people most recognize are strength, flexibility, muscular endurance, but they don't really talk so much about the neuromuscular intelligence that the body has. You're talking about being able to trust your skeletal system, trust the arrangement that the body can have to remain strong. I call it stacking or dynamic alignment, where you're in motion, but you're in correct motion. That's why we spend years and years working on developing a particular form, so that when we express, we don't hurt ourselves, especially when it's against resistance of any form, or you add, as I like to say, if you add speed or you add resistance, you better be right. You add speed, resistance, and repetition, and it's incorrect, it's a recipe for disaster. If you flip it over and it's correct, now you're building something of worth. Now you can express some power into the universe, and even receive some power and acquiesce appropriately, so you don't hurt yourself. So if the psoas is not healthy, what do you see as the downside to that?
For me, it's so tricky, because I think as humans we need to, in order to understand any topic, we need to dissect.
Okay.
Right? So we're looking into particular areas and try to understand that area.
Sure.
And then relate it to the rest.
Okay.
So to me, the psoas muscle is a way into the depth of the body. Yeah? But I cannot say that the issues that I see in it really come from it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So by looking into it, you're fanning out automatically. So what I feel is that the psoas is, and I don't know if this is scientific in any shape or form, but as a comparison, I find it almost like the endocrine system of the body. Okay. The endocrine system is responding to the environment rapidly, like at a fraction of seconds, right? So I feel the psoas muscle is doing a similar thing. So if you don't create an environment for it to be healthy, it will respond to that. But that doesn't mean it's the cause.
Yes, I see what you're saying.
So what I'm looking at is, like, through the awareness of it, creating an environment in the body where the psoas muscle can be relaxing, where everything is functional. So what you see very often is, like a twist in the pelvis, twist in the shoulder girdle, rib cage. So that will affect the psoas. Did it start from there? We don't know.
Right.
But going to the psoas with the sensory awareness, the motion, is one way of helping to release the tension and to give the body a chance to reorganize itself. So that's how I would look at it more.
I like that. I mean, you're going in, it's almost, you're getting informational, you're having a dialogue. I like the term you're fanning out, because you must look at the body as a whole if you want to solve anything, in my opinion.
Definitely.
Really. I'm not talking about putting a Band-Aid on something. I'm talking about really getting to the root cause of what the distress or dis-ease is. And I think the more that we look at it as a whole, and the more that we figure out how to unify it and utilize it like that, the more abilities we have.
I think the healthier we are.
Right. But with dance, with martial arts, with any other movement arts, really, we're always working so hard to integrate it. To be able to have this total body awareness, but also to be able to move in one piece, right? We don't want to have movement and then something's left behind, or this is a little too late or a little too early. You want everybody to be on the same page. It's a concert, not a solo performance. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your workshop, about your baby.
Just to go back to the integration that you were talking about into, with the different practices that we have. In the workshop, in order to integrate the psoas into the whole muscle, or into the whole body, the structure is such that we're starting looking at the psoas complex first, and then connecting through fascial lines and muscle chains through the whole body, so that by the end you have a sense of how does the psoas connect downwards into the legs and upwards to the head. And again, it needs to be felt. It needs to be a kinesthetic sense, so that you can take it with you into complex movement. That's the approach.
Well, it sounds like I actually would like to take that workshop at some point. So I'll have to make sure that when you're in New York, if you're giving it, you may see me.
Yeah, we do it here in May at Fluid Fitness.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, that's nice. Oh, we are at Fluid Fitness, by the way. It's an oversight for me to say we're at Fluid Fitness on 6th Avenue between 38th and 39th Street. And we look forward to seeing you. Actually, if you would be so kind as to show us some demonstration of some of your movement. I'm sure everybody would love to see that. And once again, thank you so much for taking the time, because I know you're very busy, and it's been a long time. I missed you. I haven't seen you in a long time.
It's been a very long time, 10 years probably, yeah. Thank you also for talking to me. Appreciate it. Yeah.
So this is an advanced routine. And you're working primarily with the hamstrings.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. They had the outdoor, like, because it was wet. And then there's just like
That looks like it feels really
I've
good.
never taken it. And I've heard it actually sounds really fun from everything. Yeah, I think it's like it's a cross in a lot of things. And it's like an aerobic class, but it's more just like it's like fun. It's not so bad. It's seriously. It's a lot of I've been meaning to take a class. It always sounds great. And then like what are emerging crises?
Just so much like when I get right there.
And I think it's, you know, not huge impacts. And in the water, I'm sure it would be actually. Good, yeah. Yeah, it's yes.
Really, Lauren, it's so much better than when I walked in here.
That one, just
Whatever.
I did not. Yeah, that was a good one too. Let's we did this one. When
I got into the exercise, thank you though.
That's like that feeling.
Yeah.
Out of whack.
You know what? You did not want to tell any problems. So going forward, then I would I want to stretch.
That was awesome. All right.